Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube. My name is Honey, and those of you who are new here, welcome to my channel. Here we talk all about astrology, we dive into psychology, and if you don't know, my background is psychology and counselling. So people, I have some amazing news. Today is the official launch day of my How to Read a Birth Chart course. You guys can download it and find that directly on my website, honeysastro.com. I will pin it in the comment section below there, and it's just one click away. But in that course, I'm talking about absolutely everything in reference to how to read and compile a birth chart. You guys have been pressing me for years to make this course, and finally it is done, it is here, and it's on the full moon. This is the perfect time to invest yourself into some sort of learning or some sort of understanding surrounding your sense of self. When we think about birth charts represent who we are as individuals, and this is obviously a full moon, a Leo full moon. And Leo is about our sense of expression, but it's also opposing Aquarius. And Aquarius represents my individualism. This is how I identify myself. This is who I am. And Leo is how I want to express myself. And birth charts represent exactly who we are as individuals. You might be very different from the other Taurus people out there, or the other Cancerians that are out there. And you want to find out why? Your birth chart is a mock-up of essentially the universe based on your exact time of birth, your date of birth, and the location of your birth, and it makes you an individual. And what we do as astrologers, we try and find out exactly what it is about you that makes you who you are. A birth chart is who we are from a deeper perspective. When you go to a psychologist, a therapist, and they listen to your issues and they talk to you about how you can make sense of these issues, going to an astrologer is similar in terms of an astrologer kind of letting you know what cards you've been dealt with. Your birth chart tells you exactly who you are, from the types of parents you have to how you deal with your emotions. It tells you who you are. It gives you that sense of self-awareness that you guys have the option to go out into the world and respond to that. Once you are self-aware, it gives you the advantage to go out into the world and really apply yourself to life. If you know you don't do very well being told what to do, maybe you should have your own business. If you know you don't do very well in monogamous relationships, maybe you should be polyamorous. Your chart will tell you what's best suited to you. But the beauty of astrology is that we can see, looking at the chart, exactly where it comes from. Was it because maybe your parents were having an affair when they got together and they had you? Is it because maybe your parents were yes people? Maybe they wanted to be told what to do and you despise that. Your chart will tell us exactly that and exactly where it comes from. And that's why it's important that when we are having therapy or when we are looking into birth charts, we need to find the core factor, the core reason to why you are how you are. And this is why it brings so much peace to people when they discover how deep astrology actually is. So I want to go into a very brief step-by-step guide of how to read or compile a birth chart in this video. But in terms of wanting to read a chart professionally and really know how to compile it, make sure you guys invest in my astrology class. Okay, so step one. If you are completely unaware of astrology, make sure you guys head over to Google and type in birth chart calculator, and you will be given a list of different options from different websites to input your data. Now, all they will ask for is maybe your name, date of birth, your location of birth, and the exact time of birth. Even if you are unaware of your exact time, just put 12 p.m. or put unknown if that's an option in the website, and you will still be given a round circle birth chart that looks essentially like this. Now you're probably wondering, well, what the hell is this? You know, why does it look like that? And how exactly do I make sense of it? How do I read it? The next step is, now that you have your birth chart, it's essential that you save this because you are going to need to reference and refer back to it a lot. Now, some really good websites give you a list of what the placements are. The little shapes in the birth chart will give you a list of exactly what those shapes represent. And those things in the birth chart all represent your planets, your points, your aspects, Initially, I know it can be very overwhelming. Now that you have your birth chart, it's important that you now do some of your own research to figure out, okay, what does Mars mean? You know, finding out what the planets essentially mean, which you can find information absolutely everywhere. I've gone into majority of the planets on my my YouTube channel. If you guys want to go through my playlist, you can learn more about your planets and your placements there and then. You can also type in things into Google like calculate my moon in astrology. You know, you can literally calculate anything just by typing in so and so calculator into Google, and you will be given different websites where you can again input your details and information to really get an understanding of exactly what you have and how and where in your chart. So now you have your birth chart up, you are also aware of your placements, your planets. You then want to learn a little bit more about how the signs express themselves. You know, we've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, so on and so forth. There are 12 signs and there are 12 houses. So the big circle is separated into 12 sections. There are 360 degrees in a circle. I always reference, you know, one of those angled rulers, you know, because it's 180 all the way around, and that's exactly how a birth chart is calculated, by 360 degrees. And it's then separated into 30 degrees throughout the signs or houses, right? And that kind of represents 12 houses in your chart. Everybody has 12 houses. And what you want to do now is you want to find out what sign represents your first house. Each of these houses, each of these different sections all represent a different aspect of your life, and they are all important to us. But the most important houses that a lot of clients tend to ask about is, tell me about me, which is the first house. Tell me about my family, which is the fourth house. Tell me about my relationships, which is the seventh house. Tell me about my career, which is the 10th house. So each house represents a different area of our lives. And what you need to do now is you need to figure out exactly what your ascendant is. The ascendant is how people see you. The ascendant represents what we look like, our physical body, appearance, persona, identity, but it's also who we need to become over a period of time. The ascendant is one of the most important positions in the chart because it was the sun that was on the horizon as you were being born. It also pinpoints how the rest of your chart looks. You then want to look at your sun. Now this is the easiest one because we all know what star sign we are, right? But sometimes it can be a little bit confusing because if you are a cusp, or if you are born on the last day or the first day of a season, essentially, you might be born just as the sun was moving out from one sign into another. I had a client one time who always thought that she was an Aries. When we put in her information, she was actually a Taurus. So it's important that you know exactly where the sun is positioned on your birthday. The sun is our soul's purpose, the ego, the expression, our consciousness and our confidence. And the sign that your sun sits in is the way in which you want to express yourself. But the house is paramount to really understand exactly where we like to express ourselves. So the planets that we have in our chart all represent our sense of expression and how we want to express ourselves in that particular planet. The house represents where we express ourselves through that particular planet. So for example, if you happen to have your sun in your 11th house, which is the house of your social circles, organizations, networks, groups, affiliates, this house represents you wanting to express yourself around your friends, part of a community, maybe even leading a community, getting involved in social reform, humanitarian rights, being an entrepreneur. Maybe you're like me, maybe you have your sun in your 12th house, which is the house of suppression, solitude, isolation. It's a place where you want to just have peace of mind, peace in the unconscious world. And there's a lot to do with expressing yourself when you are at home, on your own, going for walks. Just essentially, self-expression comes through being alone. Maybe you have a third house sun, and the third house is the house of communication and processing information. Maybe you express yourself in a way where you need to communicate, you need to write, you need to text, you need to be on the phone a lot, but there's a lot to do with a need of communication. And that's what I'm saying, whatever house the sun sits in represents what your soul is destined to do. And then we want to look into your moon's position. Your moon is your emotional fulfillment, foundation, home, security, roots is your mother. And the house placement that you have your moon positioned in represents an area where you strive for inner security and where you strive for a sense of safety. So these three placements in your chart, the rising, the sun and the moon, are known as your big three. This is my big three, which a lot of people talk about. These are three very important placements in your chart that represent who you are. And what we find is your ascendant is who you need to become, but it's also what people initially see. The sun is your soul's purpose and how you like to express yourself. And the moon is where you want to feel safe. The moon is not what everyone gets to see straight away. It's very sacred to us. So the house placement of your moon is very important to figure out exactly who you are. You want to learn about all of the other placements. You know, you've got a Venus, you've got a Mars, you've got a Jupiter, you've got a Saturn, you've got a Neptune, you've got Uranus, you've got Pluto, you've got Chiron. You have so many other placements to to learn about. And once you learn about those placements individually, they will all make sense in reference to who you are. But the most important placements to really understand who you are is in reference to Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus and Mars, because those are called your personal placements. Now once you've grasped all of those placements, you then want to have a look into aspects. Aspects are very confusing for a lot of people, but I'm not going to get into it too much on here, but the aspects are very important to also understand how the planets are communicating with each other. So the aspects are the lines in the chart and how they are communicating with each other. Once you learn about the aspects, that will then further your understanding surrounding why does this aspect that, and what does that mean to aspect this, and it kind of compiles it all together. And once you've learned about the aspects and what this planet means with that planet, by that point you should have essentially grasped an understanding of how to read the chart. And let me just point this out, it takes a very long time to really process how to read a chart. This is a basic understanding of just making sense of the planets within your chart and how to kind of compile it together. Now in my class I go into looking into birth charts of celebrities, random people, clients I've got permission to work with, and what we are looking into is really looking into how to find and pick the little things in someone's chart. If a client comes to you and says, hey, why have I got these self-esteem issues? I'm really bad with money. You know, my family hate me, or everyone hates me, I've got no friends. And people come to you with these issues and you've got to find why that's happening or where it's coming from in their chart. Every single person in this world has something called a theme in their chart, and this is what we're looking for when it comes to compiling and reading charts, is we're looking for the theme of the chart. The themes represent what this person is here to do karmically in this lifetime. And in this lifetime, some people deal with difficult parents, a difficult foundation, difficulty in being emotionally vulnerable, difficulty in keeping a job, difficulty in health. Everyone has something in their lives that they have to work on. And you as the astrologer, you must find out exactly what that is and let the client know, and also how to deal with it. Because once the client knows what they are dealing with, they then know how to move forward with it. And that's what we do in my class, is we're looking at everything. We're breaking down the aspects. We are breaking down how to find generational traumas. We're breaking down how to communicate with the clients. We're breaking down how to read the chart in general. And with this video, it's very basic, it's very simple, but my course allows you guys to make sense of everything. So that way it's easy for you guys to process, for you guys to then go off and do your own readings if you wanted to. So people, on my website, you guys can download my How to Read a Birth Chart class, and it's pinned in the comments section below. So I will see you at the class, people. Bye bye.